Good evening, folks. I was having a chat with my cousin yesterday about the recent Amir Khan, controversy with him testing positive for PED for the Kell Brook fight last year. And we were discussing it, and we were discussing how we've never heard a professional boxer who's been caught for steroids or drugs or whatever admit that they actually did wrong. I can't think of a single case where they've admitted it and said, yeah, I fucked up, made a bad decision, sorry. We were discussing it. Now, my cousin, he's a sports nutritionist and a former powerlifter, and he also boxed when we were teenagers. We used to box together, and he's so he's all qualified, the nutrition, the sports nutrition, and everything. And he basically said, all these substances that turn up in these people's systems that they deny all knowledge about. He said there is no way these things are used for a specific purpose, and it is highly, highly, highly unlikely that it would accidentally end up in your system. And we were just laughing about some of the excuses that these guys have come up with over the years, like Tyson Fury, who tested positive once upon a time. A lot of people forget that. I like to remind people from time to time. What was it? He and his cousin Huey said it was uncastrated wild boar meat. That's why he tested positive for nandrolone. Okay. Way back in 2003, Shane Mosley was caught in the whole Balco scandal, and he said that he thought it was vitamin injections he was taking. Right, okay. And of course, recently, Conor Benn and it was the WBC said, oh well, see, it's from eating loads of eggs. That's what's done it. And Conor Benn basically accused everybody of being out to get him and tampering with his tests. Okay, not very believable, is it? And Amir Khan's latest one, I saw that car crash interview with Simon Jordan, and I don't think Simon Jordan was actually there, to be honest, but on Talk Radio, and he basically said he might have caught it shaking hands with someone. Yeah, I don't think it works quite that way, my friend. So, I cannot think of a single fighter who's been popped for steroids or any other substance that has actually held their hands up and admitted that they did wrong. They may have. I can't think of any off the top of my head. If you can think of any, put it in the comments below, please, because me and my cousin were talking about this for about 3 hours yesterday, and we couldn't think of a single case where someone's tested positive and admitted it. I mean, boxing's a murky old sport, a dirty old sport at the best of times, but it just seems to be getting worse and worse. You had the whole Jarrell Miller business before the Joshua fight 4 years ago. Big Pharma, they call him now, because he was so full of fucking everything. Lucas Brown, the Australian, he tested positive after he beat Ruslan Chagayev a good few years ago. Fernando Vargas in 2002, before the De La Hoya fight, didn't do him any good because he got fucking knocked out. He got stopped. Shane Mosley, like I said, I mentioned Shane Mosley, he was caught with stuff in his system that he shouldn't have been. And it didn't do him any good because he looked awful. He got the decision in the rematch with De La Hoya that year, but he looked awful and he shouldn't have won. So it didn't do him any good. And clearly Amir Khan, whatever this stuff was, I forget the name, Osterine, it didn't do him any good because he got his face punched in by Kell Brook. So, it doesn't always seem to do these people any good. And of course, big one as well, Canelo Alvarez. Now, I'm a big Alvarez fan, but he did test positive for clenbuterol, I believe. And his excuse was, oh, it's the unregulated beef in Mexico. And yes, that is a fact. There is unregulated beef in Mexico. Lewis Neary as well, the bantamweight, he had the same excuse when he tested positive. Well, it's a well-known fact that the meat in Mexico is very unregulated and is pumped full of all these horrendous chemicals and steroids and drugs and things. Now, if you're a professional athlete in Mexico, surely you stay away from that stuff as much as you can. Surely, I mean, they've got money. Especially Alvarez, he could fly stuff in from somewhere else or eat elsewhere or whatever. So I always found that a little bit suspicious, you know. I was also always very suspicious of Manny Pacquiao over the years, and Juan Manuel Marquez. They were never caught, and they never failed a test, so it's just conjecture. I'm not saying they did it, but I did find some of it a little bit suspicious, like Marquez's physique going into the fourth Pacquiao fight. I don't know, he just looked, it just all looked suspicious to me, and the way Pacquiao just flew up the fucking weight divisions and was still keeping his power and was knocking out these guys who were naturally bigger than him, and jumping up. You know, it wasn't like a gradual moving up. I always found that a bit suspicious, but again, he never failed anything. So, but yeah, I was talking to my cousin Phil. You know, so we discussed this, and we both basically ended up saying, look, I would probably say, being probably generous, 80 to 90% of professional boxers are on something. As sad as it is to say, because it happens all the time, and they're getting cleverer at hiding stuff, they're getting cleverer at avoiding tests, cleverer at confusing tests, or, you know, taking supplements that mask things and all that. So it's just a murky, dangerous, disgraceful territory. But if they're all doing it, then what do? You either legalise it or you don't. And you can't ban everybody. If they're all doing it, you can't ban them all, because then the sport's finished. So I don't know. It's all a very murky thing. But yeah, I've never, off the top of my head and off the top of his head, we could not think of a single boxer who's tested positive for any kind of drugs, illegal. Yeah, I'm talking about performance enhancing drugs, that actually held their hands up and admitted it. You know, there's always some bizarre or pathetic excuse, either from the fighter himself or from his team. So, like I say, if you can think of anybody who actually held their hands up and admitted that they did it, put it in the comments. But there you go. That's my rant about PEDs in boxing. I hope you're having a good week. And we've got the big Joe Joyce fight this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that one. And I'll be talking about that next week. So take care, folks, and I'll speak to you soon.